Welcome back to Another Triathlon Podcast brought to you by maunaapparel. I'm Jenna Caer and joined this week by Josh, and we're going to jump into everything going into the triathlon world. And I think the headliner this week is the T100 Grand Final in Qatar. But we will jump into a few other things that happened this weekend because there was definitely a very appropriate what the F moment of the week. But first, we're going to catch up with the crew. Josh, how are things going with you these days?
Great. I think it's always funny how we can tell when a show starts, like what kind of conversations we were having prior to hitting the record button, whether we're smiling or laughing. Jenna's usually a little more serious because she's talking, but you can usually get a good read on how I'm looking at it. So
definitely check out the YouTube. There's a few more expressions and insights there.
Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, it's always an added benefit for a trainer ride. Yeah, no, things have started to pick up and got about almost 20 miles of running last week and finished that off with my first 5K road race in a long time.
Oh, fun.
Coach said, whatever pace you want after a 2-mile warm up. So I did a 2-mile warm up early in the morning. It was like 0 degrees Celsius, 32 Fahrenheit. But I was in shorts and a singlet. I was like, this is full Sunday. I'm feeling good. So I went and grabbed my first sub 20 5K final.
Awesome.
And I was like, I know I've done it in like training and stuff like that, but never in a race. And yeah, the lungs were starting to work in the cold weather late. But held on for a 1944, I think it was officially. So that felt good. And especially knowing I had not really done much for a couple of weeks, and especially running wise, and the overall fitness is just there. So big little box ticked going into this 12-week now training block for Tokyo and really building up and just like we always talk about stacking bricks and the continuous training and the fitness is there even when you do have to take a break and a little bit of an off season. And now I'm going into next year way ahead of where I was last year. And it's like light years ahead of where I was at this point last year. So
that's always a good feeling.
Yeah, it's just like one of those confidence boosters, right? Like you're like, yeah, I know I'm probably there and I feel better, but it's nice to have a real result that shows it too. So excited about that, and coach was happy, and even though this is a little bit of a shorter block than we would like, I think we're in a good spot, and I'm still swimming a ton and swimming longer and harder yards right now, and we're using that as some more of the early aerobic base as opposed to putting up 30-40 easy mile weeks, and seeing how that works, and then we'll get into some slow progressions on the mileage each week and be ready to go for March 1st. I also found out this week that I got into Berlin as well.
Amazing. Gonna be training up all the majors.
Right. And there's another, through the same charity, they have a team for London that they're announcing as well this week. So that one had a lot of people and they were overwhelmed. So it's a cool organization called Get Kids Going. So really, really neat foundation in London that I'm excited to help out. They're a smaller group and they've done a lot of great work, but under the radar for the most part. So I actually have about 5 or 6 friends who have joined the Berlin team too, because they had applications open and I put it up. One of our Mana teammates has joined and a few of my friends from Peloton and others. So really cool for all the people that didn't get into the Berlin lottery. Now I've been able to offer them an opportunity to run Berlin. Fingers crossed for London, because that means Berlin will be my 6th star and like that journey's over and done with. And then Janine will finish in New York. And it's like, yeah, all of a sudden from 0 to 6 in like no time.
Just all in.
Yeah, might as well get it done and over with. And it's been a really cool journey and really cool year to look forward to. And right before Berlin we'll be Nice World Champs. So yeah, season is starting to come together where it was like completely unknown minus Nice. Now I've got a little bit bigger of a picture to plan around, and it'll make training a little bit more dialed in.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's going to be so cool to be able to tick that box and just say that you've done it. You haven't just kind of cruised through it. You've been racing competitively and getting faster and faster in PRs each time. So that makes it even more fun to go through.
Yeah, with the sprinkle of helping others along the way and enjoying the race as well, because these are really cool atmospheres too, right? And I think there are plenty of marathons that I can go find from here on that are going to be the ones that are like, okay, how fast can we get? And yeah, and literally like bottles on tables and things like that. And there's plenty of those races to come in my future. But for right now, it's a good balance of PR chasing as well as just the experience that is traveling to race and being around 40,000, 50,000 other people.
No, it's very, very cool.
How are things going? I know how cold it is here. How is it? It's got to be pretty damn frigid up there.
Actually, we've had a relatively winter season so far. It's just a lot of snow, and that makes it less fun to do the outside stuff. I'm coaching some in-person brick classes, and it's kind of funny because we've got the whole indoor bike trainer set up with, what do you call it, compute trainer and stuff, but we still have to run outside if there's more than a certain number of people because they only have a few treadmills. So it's been entertaining trying to find some dry patches of trail just to get them to do some run sessions on. And this coming week, it's looking like the temperatures are going to drop. So there's going to be some core workouts instead of running outside because there's a point it reaches where it's just not fun. Like, you don't want to be completely miserable during it. But so
especially
far,
on the brick too, right? Because you're coming off the
really
bike, you're
sweaty,
sweaty, and then you got to put all these clothes on and go outside and like try and stay warm. Your body temperature doesn't know what the heck it's doing, and yeah, that's a little crazy. I'm all for the core work. I've always lagged in doing it, and I'm on a kick right now where it's part of my training. And
good.
Janine and I have challenged each other to do like 14 days straight through like a Peloton program as well. So even after day 2, I'm like, I don't know, 2 weeks from now, I'm going to be a whole different person. Like, you can just feel the difference it makes really quickly.
Totally. Yeah. No, everything. Just that foundation, keeping you injury free and just making sure that trunk is solid so that you can move the way you need to, right?
Absolutely.
But outside of that, training has been kind of up and down between everything with the holidays and life stuff and everything. I still don't entirely know for sure if this race I'm training for is going to happen or if I'm going to be there or what. It's that kind of random race in Qatar with the swim, bike, run, and kayak.
Yeah.
And there's been no real details on flights or courses or anything. And it's 6 weeks out. So
is Fede planning this for you? Sorry, Fed. Come on now.
Yeah, the whole team's over in Qatar. Well, a bunch of the team's over in Qatar right now, but so I'm kind of finding it hard to push the training, especially around the like busy holiday season. It was just my son's birthday and stuff too. Not knowing for sure if it's gonna happen or not. This time of year is definitely tougher with the dark and the cold and everything. I'm going to keep training. Like I said, this time of year is always a little hectic with the holidays and friends and family coming into town, but we'll keep pushing through and get the fitness I can for the race that may or may not happen. And then maybe I'll have to jump into an early season 70.3 or something if it's not, because I'm definitely usually solidly in off season at this point.
Speaking of off season, I totally forgot that I was in San Antonio last week for a couple days for the running event, TRE, as people call it. And it's been around for a few years. It's been in Austin. They moved it to San Antonio for a couple of reasons, but one of them was the San Antonio Marathon was kicking off its first ever year, as well the following weekend after TRE. But man, what a show. It's everybody in the running industry, which is also a part of the triathlon industry, was there. Brands from shoes to gear to apparel to nutrition, everything was there. And it was like the executives of these companies. And so for me, coming from a Super Tri partnership side of things, it was a great place to be and have conversations and actually see people that you don't get to see other than through a screen typically and on the phone. So that was really neat. But holy cow, it was like a kid in a candy shop there too. Like I was like trying not to buy everything. And I was like, oh, they're giving away this. And then one of the last things I did was go over to the Adidas booth. And when I say booth, these are like little apartments in an expo floor. Some of them actually were 2 stories and stuff. So really elaborate trade show, tons of companies there. And then I stopped by the Adidas expo booth and they had just dropped the Boston Marathon jacket and everyone was all up in arms because it's the old OG blue and gold colors. And it was embroidered again for the first time in years. So everyone was so they had one hanging and I was like, well, let me try on the Adidas super shoe. And I know they were coming out with like a new trainer or new colorway. So I tried both of those on and the kid who was helping me out is like, here's a card. Those are on us. And I got a brand new pair of trainers from the Adidas, like that's the stuff that goes on at this place. They're just like just dropping things to a lot of this stuff isn't even available for sale until like 2026, like March, April, May, June, some of them. So really, really neat experience to be around that, being in the industry and around. And it seems like a lot of the people that have been for the years, this was like one of the top ones. Just like a marathon, there were all these shakeout runs every morning, and there was even they have their own 5K that they do the last morning. So really neat to be around. So yeah, if you ever get a chance to go to something like that, TRE is one that I would put on your list.
That is very cool. Actually, that reminds me, another big industry update we have is that Precision Hydration and Nutrition is going to be one of the key sponsors for Ironman and 70.3s here in North America, which is very good news. I don't know if you ever tried that Mortal stuff, but I was not a fan. So excited to have Precision on there. And I think they stood out in an incredible way at the 70.3 World Championships and the expo and their activations and stuff. They were definitely next level.
They were large at TRE as well, and got to see them there. And then they were a huge sponsor of the big marathon this past weekend in Sacramento, the CIM. They were actually the on-course nutrition or hydration for that marathon as well. So yeah, that was a really big announcement, and they did not hint at that when I had conversations with them in San Antonio. I was like, oh, I sent the guy, Jack, a message yesterday, and he's like, yeah, we couldn't tell you yet. But I was like, I knew something was up.
They totally kept it under wraps. No, definitely exciting to see there, and just seeing companies really kind of investing in triathlon. That's what we always want to see to help grow the sport. The other thing we got going on, if you haven't seen it already, is Team Mana. We're going to have a training camp on March 4th to 8th in Scottsdale, Arizona. If you are listening to this, go check it out right away, because if you sign up before Friday this week, you get a free triathlon apparel bundle, which includes a long sleeve cycling jersey, a windbreaker, bib shorts, running singlet, all in our exclusive team camp design. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We've got about 25 athletes signed up already, and the camp's still a few months away. So it's going to be a big showing and just so much more fun to go suffer with teammates. We've got SAG support out there. We've got coaches for all ability levels. So we've had people come out that are doing their first triathlon, or actually one time riding their bike outside for the first time, all the way up to world championship qualifiers and winners and stuff. So definitely go check it out if you want to experience the community. Because you're listening to the podcast, when you do sign up, you can use the Team Mana member pricing instead of the non-member. So go ahead and do that, or just send us a message if you have any questions about it.
And I got a 2027. It's on my list of not. I am going to block out like any potential dates, because this is like, I think there's no way possible I can get from Tokyo to camp, unfortunately, this year. But man, one of these days I'll be there, and it's gonna be like I'm not gonna want to leave.
Yeah, we got to get us all together, get fed, and do a live podcast sometime there. And yeah, some fun at the camp. That'd be a blast. Well, let's roll in. I think I'm going to start this whole conversation with the what the F of the week, because seriously, what the F. So if you guys haven't seen already, Ironman La Quinta 70.3 was interesting. I'm starting to think that these races between like Ironman and T100 are just like going to each other and saying, oh, you think that's bad? Hold my beer and watch this. Seriously, we had 70.3 Worlds. We're missing the final battle. We had Dubai, where there are too many laps and too little laps. And now at La Quinta, we have a rogue golf cart just destroying bikes.
All media is good media, apparently, right?
Yeah, so we're talking about it. We wouldn't have been talking about this race otherwise. But yeah, it sounds like, I thought this had happened like overnight, but it sounds like the morning of the race, a golf cart was not put into park, and it went careening down a hill into the pro women's bike rack, collapsing the bike rack. And kind of the worst affected was Jackie Herring had her rear disc wheel destroyed. Steph Clutterbuck had some bike issues with her brakes and some other issues from the impact. And what the F? Where, like, what?
I mean,
what were your thoughts on this?
Let's drive around in a golf cart. Fine. Okay, that's normal for an event. But yeah, you probably shouldn't leave it anywhere near a hill, first off, and then a hill next to transition or in transition close to the bikes. Because yeah, I mean, I get scared if I leave my car outside in the wintertime, if the like driveway freezes over and the damn thing might roll. So like, yeah, don't leave a golf cart anywhere near $25,000, $30,000 bikes that are about to be ridden in the next hour or two. So Yeah, we're really strange. I did just see that Jackie has dropped her post-race YouTube.
Yep.
So we'll just make that our social media post of the week. We'll do the WTF on social media right away. And yeah,
Perfect.
if you want the real news about what actually happened and from the one person who I think actually saw it, go check out Jackie Herring's social and her YouTube page.
Yeah, and it sounds like her bike even after that was a bit wobbly. Things weren't quite right, and she ended up using an amateur's rear wheel so that she could
Rear
actually.
wheel, no disc, right? I mean, she
Yeah,
lost her disc, and we all know the impact that could have, especially at a course like that, a fast bike, flat. I mean, yeah, total aero benefits, and it sounds like Steph's was lost her front brakes, and there's some braking you need to do, and then she had to bend the derailleur back, which means the gears were probably
nuts.
jumping, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, craziness. Well, hopefully Ironman will take care of them in there. I'm sure they signed a ton of disclaimers and like release of liability, but at the end of the day, if you want it to be pro sport, I'm sure they will
do the right thing.
do the right thing. I hope so. And then we had some more controversy at this race too. That wasn't the end of it. It feels like Dubai all over again, where it was like, okay, that was crazy, but what else could happen? We had the athlete everyone loves here at Lionel Sanders. He crossed the finish line in second, coming back after a long time off because of injury, a second behind Sam Long, and we were really hoping to see more of that kind of Sam Long Lionel battle. Anyways, he crosses the finish line with his race kit zipper unzipped but not unattached. And he got a disqualification when going across the line because that zipper wasn't fully zipped up, which is insane. So I don't know. I know the rules before where you couldn't have it unattached. Like it could be zipped down, but it couldn't be unattached at the bottom. He had one of the kits where it doesn't attach, right? So I don't know if they've changed it to where it has to be all the way zipped up or not, but what a stupid rule.
So first off, yes, it's a stupid rule first and foremost, right? There's no real reason for it in decency. I mean, come on, with
Mhm.
the 2,000 people out there all looking at their kids and their age groupers racing who are probably like wearing shorts and no shirt.
Oh, yes. So
So come on, and this is a professional sport. Like, let's let these guys just compete and do what they do, and yeah, we got to follow rules, and rules are there for a reason, but typically for safety. And this has nothing to do with safety whatsoever. And it did sound like there might have been a broken zipper. Who knows? It is Lionel. He didn't have the day he was hoping for. He did have a good race, but maybe it's a good sign for Lionel that he wasn't fully back yet and is actually taking his time to build back into fitness. And is really going to target a 2026 that he really is proud of, and as he gets up in the end of his career, then maybe 2026 is going to be the season he's looking forward to. And I think at the end of the day, that really does mean Kona, right? Like what
yeah, for
what
sure.
what else does he have to really check off at this point, other than getting to the top step at Kona?
Yeah, and 70.3 worlds for sure too. It's so funny. He's so good at 70.3s, but he's just never had that day at 70.3 worlds. And he's had his share of controversial DQs and that too, with that center line violation on a road with no center line years ago. Yeah, it's just this rule. Like I can see Ironman talks about how they don't want different rules for the amateurs versus the pros. So as if that's the case, is that the rule for the amateurs as well, that it has to be
Yeah,
like fully zipped up in there? I can see where they want it to look professional with everything zipped up going across the finish line. But pro athletes should be focused on pro performance over anything. It's their bad and their mess up if their sponsors don't get full visibility because their kit's unzipped in there. It shouldn't be in the rules
no,
at all.
no. It's interesting because now, like, Matt Sharp has been around all of this. He was there.
Yeah.
His wife wins the female race. Apparently, he had been on the golf cart earlier in the weekend. And then Lionel and Matt was the last pro athlete to truly get DQ'd because of this rule as well. It's like, and Matt's like, yeah, by the way, bye. I'm leaving. I'm done with the sport. So I'm
Yeah.
retiring.
Oh man.
Quite the weekend for Mr. Sharp. Tempo News, man.
Definitely. Yeah, and it was cool to see Kristen Casper actually ended up buying a Mana tri-suit to racing because she only had her short course kind of
Yeah.
tri-suits and then yeah, went away with the
Little
wins.
harder to zipper that one from the back.
Right. Definitely. my goodness. And it was kind of funny. We had our our team Mana has a lot of athletes kind of around the world, and we get excited about racing and pros, and we're all big Lionel fans and stuff. And it was funny because after the whole zipper issue happened, a bunch of our teammates went on to his social media saying, like, trying to pitch Mana apparel to him. And a lot of comments were being hidden by, we're assuming Talbot kind of does his social media and stuff, but he wasn't loving.
Hidden, deleted, who knows? And then Talbot chimed in. He's like, "Hey, Fusion, we love you." Hey, just all good banter.
Yeah.
Proud of the kits that we get to wear.
Totally. No, too funny to see. But yeah, if you didn't listen to Pro Tri News, Talbot went pretty hard on Jimmy Riccatello and the rules in there. That was interesting to listen to. What did you think when you were listening to that?
I was listening and watching because I was on my trainer yesterday and watched the actual the YouTube episode. You could certainly see that the other gents were a little uncomfortable. I think Mark actually like jumps back in his chair at one point, and it makes you wonder, like, and this is what my train of thought was, like, if this wasn't Lionel, would we be having this same discussion? And we all know that Talbot works for Lionel and has been around him more than any other athlete, has lived with him at times. So I think that obviously was kind of right off of the result and the reinstatement, and it was a pretty quick DQ and reinstatement. It sounds like there was, I mean, within minutes they decided to reinstate him onto the podium. But if it was Carter Stumacher from Project Podium, who had a great day on the bike and was up front of that race until he started having some stomach issues, and short course guys have stomach issues in their first long course races sometimes. Kirsten Casper, I mean, that's just another reason, like, an awesome day for her. But if this was somebody else getting a DQ, do we have that same reaction from Talbot? Probably not. And that's the thing. It's like, all right, you want to talk about the news and report on the news and all that. And I know you guys have been at Jimmy a lot. And we've all talked about, let's get into the year 2025 and update the drafting distance. There's a lot of things that could be done differently and better, but to go off to that extent, like he needs to be fired, was just a little bit like, okay, you work for Lionel and you're upset right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
But to Talbot's point, I do appreciate that. Like you said, if it were someone like Cameron, like, it probably wouldn't have been overturned, kind of thing.
Right.
If the rules are the rules, then have the rules be for everyone and not just like we see in T100, even with like Hayden kind of thing, not just for the star or the person who gives you a lot of attention. They get kind of special passes. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if anything comes from that. They definitely do get some attention with pro triders and stuff, which is very good because they set out from the start, kind of, bringing attention to pro sports and making sure that someone's kind of backing them outside of the pros trying to fight their own battles there. So be curious to see if we see any changes there.
I don't think we will. Not yet.
Fair enough. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we had a few other races going on this weekend with Ironman Western Australia. And sorry, Josh, did you have the winners in there? That one I kind of saw a few social media clips, but there wasn't as much drama, so I didn't follow it as closely.
Yeah, so Ironman Western Australia on the female side, when I was checking in on that race, that was what, Friday night or Saturday night? It was because of the time difference, but it was Lottie Wilms. Well, unfortunately, Pro athlete Fenella Langridge tried to make her comeback, and she had crashed a couple days before the race, and then got the okay to race and felt okay to race. But when she got on the bike, it was just kind of like things weren't right and didn't feel right. And she had a decent swim, as she always does, but she wasn't front of the pack. She was probably like third or fourth out of the water. And she decided to DNF. So you could see that bugged her because it looked like she was pretty fit from all signs of things. And hopefully that just means 2026, like we talked about with Lionel, 2026 is going to be her comeback year. So that's how the day started. But then Lottie Wilms just kind of ran away with it, and she was gone on the bike, and no one ever competed with her on the run. So kudos to Lottie. That is a Kona slot secured. I think there was only one slot on each side in this race, and so Lottie got that. And I believe on the men's side it was Cameron Main again, like crazy awesome bike split, and then just held on with the run. So yeah, I didn't get to see much of that. Didn't really get to track it too often or too much, but did check to see if anything crazy had happened. Most of our attention went to Quinta, as we just discussed.
Yeah, definitely.
In Bahrain with our world record performance from our
Yes.
previous guest, Georgia Taylor Brown.
Yeah, not a bad day for the couple with Georgia and Vince taking the win on either side, so can't complain there. Bahrain's a funny one. They only, I think they opened up registration 6 weeks before or something like that. I was looking at that race for a little bit, possibly going, and then registration just didn't open, and then they kind of launched it last minute. So it seems to be more of a passion project for fun kind of deal, but the course on that one isn't quite legit. So I'm curious to see how Georgia would feel about that, because knowing that the course is short and being touted as kind of this new record, it brings up the question if records are really a thing, if there's no standardized kind of distance, there should be a standard distance, but we all know a lot of the courses can vary pretty drastically from what it should be.
So after that discussion was flowing around with all the other media outlets, I was like, well, she was on our show and she talked about how much she likes to use Strava. So I checked it out, and her bike was almost spot on 56 miles, just a little short. And we all know, by the time you actually hit start on your computer, you're usually a little bit into the course. You're worried about the mount and all that. And so the bike was that was pretty close enough for me. I wouldn't even bad enough. The run, I think, was 12.5 miles, 12 points in her watch. But you could also be like, well, she's running with her watch in her hand, because none of these athletes actually have it on the bike. And for the most part, they're running with it. And then maybe she just turned it on late. So if anything was short, it was the run. A half a mile, 0.3 of a mile is a decent amount when you're talking a couple minutes. But her and Vince have now won this race 2 years in a row. But then you look at it, I think there were 8 men that started, and not many females either. So it's this race wasn't even going to happen, and then it ended up happening at the last minute too. Where the Middle East is definitely trying to become a triathlon hotbed, but it's a long way away from it actually getting the fans and the recognition and the athletes there, just because it's so hard to get to and travel to and race in those conditions. So she threw down a crazy split regardless. Maybe the run was a little bit, she was running pretty steady paces and wasn't pressured up front too. So it's we all know if there was somebody running down her heels, that's she's running faster. So kudos to her regardless. I think at the end of the day, just like we say in short course, whoever wins in podiums is all that matters.
Yeah. Yeah, and that race is always kind of a procession for the Bahrain 13 team and stuff. And I know she's not on Bahrain this year, but she was kind of in years past, and Vince is on there. So I know everyone on that team kind of goes there for a fun weekend to go have a hard hit out and enjoy some of the luxuries in the Middle East that they get over there too. So
Absolutely.
pretty cool event. Okay, speaking of the Middle East, we got another race going on in the Middle East with a grand final happening in mid-December, which is just I'm tired. Never mind the athletes who are actually racing these series and going all out in it. That is insane at this point. And then you think about this season kicks off again in, what is it, March? So not a lot of time in between. But
early March.
Yeah, early March. Man, that's crazy. But we got the T100 in Qatar happening this weekend. It's going to be the grand final for the series with this series season-long narrative and the race to Qatar.
And let's just clarify this weekend too. So for North America listeners, you will be able to watch this live on Friday. So if you got some free time at work, you might want to take your lunch break because this race is happening on Saturday in Dubai. It'll be on Friday our time.
Yeah, definitely a good call in there, and figure out the time zones and everything, because that's always probably the hardest part of watching these races half the time.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. The last few have not been great for the North American viewers.
This one will be just on the wrong day.
There we go. I know. I always wake up to those. I'm in a few triathlon group chats, and I'll wake up. There's 700 messages. I'm okay, mute everything until I can see what actually happened here.
I always know when not to include any result-ish type chat in our group chat with Jenna when she doesn't respond to the first one of the day.
Oh, perfect. You got it dialed in. Yeah, I've got you all muted. I'm not even looking.
Yeah.
But that makes it a little harder on a work day because usually I just mute WhatsApp entirely. But I'm like,
yeah,
contact other people.
Very true.
Oh, man. Okay, well, let's go. So the season-long narrative I don't think it's quite worked out the way T100 wanted it. We always mention triathlon athlete, and I think that's the best visual because you see how many red slashes there are in athletes who are supposed to be on this start list. We've definitely seen a few of the big names popping out, but on the women's side especially, it really hasn't reduced the excitement of this race going in. So let's start off with the women's side of things, because I think that is going to be the race that everyone is watching because it's just so close.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a winners take all between the top three, right?
It's very cool. And like we were chatting about beforehand that you brought up, Josh, is that the points are so close in here, but basically if they're on equal points at the end of the day, the winner of the Qatar race, because it is the grand final, will be the overall winner. So that means that whoever wins between Julie Darren, Kate Waugh, and Lucy Charles Barclay will win the series overall, which is pretty cool to see it come down to the final race. Like, that's what we like to see and keep it interesting. And the crazy part there is Kate Waugh was a hot shot coming in. She wasn't even one of the contracted athletes.
Kate Waugh and Hayden Wilde are both hot shots, technically, right?
It's just kind of fun to see. So I'll run through the start list quickly here because we have the smaller ones. But we got Kate Waugh, Julie Duran, Lucy Charles Barclay, Ashley Gentle, Jessica Learmonth, Lucy Byram, Hannah Berry, Paula Finley, Taylor Spivey, Ellie Salthouse, Lisa Purder, Holly Lawrence, Hannah Devet, India Lee, Grace Deck, Georgia Taylor Brown, Sarah Prasella, Caroline Poole, Nina Bissick, Megan McDonald, Lizzie Rayner, Els Visser, Kata Kaboja, Dee Deirdricks, and Imogen Simmons going in there. Notably, we have Els Visser is going to be retiring, right?
Yeah, and Els retired from Ironman, but now this is another race that she is actually doing. So
fair enough. Whatever works in there.
This will be her official last race, and it seems like she's getting into the healthcare space still, not going back to like the crazy world that she was in healthcare before. But yeah, kudos to her, and what a career after everything she came through.
Yeah. So this course, we have got laps. So 6 laps on the run, 6 laps on the bike, 2 laps on the swim, but that's always a little easier to count. What do you think? Are we going to see any issues with lap counting, or are we going to have like Sam Renouf on the side of the road with the lap counter himself making it happen?
I mean, they'll have some. I hope that they do something that stands out and is somewhat comical, and
I think that'd be great.
Make this enjoyable and really laugh at yourselves for the mistake you've made. I do not feel like laps will be an issue. Hayden has no reason to do an extra lap and make this interesting this time around.
There we go. Oh man, could you imagine? Yeah, we'll get into the men's side afterwards. But for this race, it's really, I'm curious to see how it goes just because it's been such a long season. Like, we know we had Lucy Charles Barclay just won the 70.3 World Championships. Being on that high and coming down from that and then having to ramp back up, especially after the heat stress in Kona. Yeah.
But then to potentially win this and be this close to 3 world championships is a little bit of a motivating factor for her too, like coming out of Kona. So
totally, 2 in a year.
We saw what that did to her in Marbella, and like, okay, well, can she do it again in Qatar? I don't know. Like you said, like there's and Kate Waugh's had such a long season. I mean, this started in Singapore and she hasn't stopped, and she's just been going. Whereas Julie Duran, this is kind of like the beginning of her 2026, and
really,
does that bode well for her and the freshness? And we know she just had a good outing in Dubai. So there's, I mean, to me, like it's hard to call. And then like, does GTB come right off of what she did and go right? Because she's just been getting better at these all year long too. And does she play into the results and the factor? Because we're all talking about one of those 3 winning, and then this is what happens, and winner takes all. But we don't really talk about like if none of them win, and now all of a sudden you're going from 55 points down to 46 being the top number that you can get in second place. So how does that what do those scenarios look like if somebody else does win or jump into the podium? So
and there's
it's definitely an interesting race.
There's that history of some of these world triathlon races where we have surprise winners like Lisa Tersch, where all the favorites just melt down. And then we have someone running through. And with that, the added points for the grand final, that definitely shakes things up a bit where there is potential. Like there has to be some catastrophic things for 3 athletes, which makes it a little bit tougher. Man,
But
we had
Jess
2 of the
Learmonth,
favorites going. No, you never know. I think Julie Durant, she was so good in Dubai kind of thing. I have a hard time going past her for this just because she is a little bit fresher. She's hungry for it. Where Kate Watt, she has come on and kind of burst onto the scene, but she hasn't really beaten the women who are on form. Like she's beaten Lucy Charles Barkley in the past kind of thing, but with Lucy being on form or Julie Durant being like totally on form, I have a hard time seeing Kate Watt kind of taking the win there. What do you think?
the 3 of them haven't been on form together in this distance. So they have not raced head to head like this. I don't even think in Singapore, or if in Singapore it wasn't like the full out, and we all know Singapore's just a different beast at that time of year. So this is the first race that the 3 of them are toting the line healthy and ready to go.
Yeah.
So that is a difference right there for Kate Waugh, and maybe that's a chip on her shoulder in the underdog card that she's going to use to get her to the top, because she's probably the least of the 3 of them to be considered a favorite in this race. And it's probably Lucy and like you said, Julie's probably the odds on favorite. Julie was a favorite going into Kona and had to DNS.
Yeah.
So I think this is kind of a little bit of retribution for her entire season. And she's just raring to go, and she looks fit, and we saw it in Dubai.
And the other interesting one is Imogen Simmons. It'll be her first race back after all of the drama that went on earlier this year with a positive sample coming back, but she's been cleared of all charges, and she was supposed to come back to race at the Laguna Phuket Tribe. I think, was it a crash or something, or did she get sick? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think she wasn't feeling well.
Yeah, so she couldn't race there. So this will be her first race back after all of that controversy and stress. And God, I can't even imagine from that. So I'll be curious to see how she goes. Nothing like jumping in at the deep end to do one of the most stacked fields as your first race back after, like a year off.
And the racing dynamics have changed in this last year too, where I think Lucy's got company, and that does impact this race. And when you're racing the way Lucy does, and now all of a sudden you've got Jess Learmonth right there with you, and you got a Kate Waugh not that far back and pushing the pace and trying to get away from Julie Durant, because I think the only way that a Lucy or a Kate can win this race is by getting some distance from Julie on the swim, and never letting her get up to them on the bike. Because if she's anywhere near them coming into T2, it's probably lights out. Julie Durant's won this race.
Yeah.
So does that impact things? And then it's like, okay, well, Imogen, when's the last time you swam like this? And
He's back in the pack going full gas.
Yeah, this is how we go now. See, I mean, that's not like I don't expect much out of Paula Findlay. Like I think Paula's going to get through this race and see if she can finish in that top 10. And that's the other side of this battle on both sides. Like the real battles are going to be who can get in the top 10 and make some serious money and be invited to the first race next year.
And that's just it. Like the points get pretty tight when you get to the like 8 to 13 kind of areas. Really, that'll be the race within the races, just making sure they're within that top 10 so that they can have the option to do some of the races next year. Because if you haven't been paying attention to anything in the triathlon world, next year they're not going to have contracts, and they're going to be doing a race format where you're invited to race. They're still going to have the restricted number of athletes actually on the race course. So the top 10 will automatically get invites to the first race of the season. After that, it'll be based on rankings and everything else. So
the Challenger Series.
The Challenger Series. Yeah, I still don't.
Or just your world triathlon rankings, really.
That's exactly it. Well, it'll be their T100 rankings in there, where if you haven't done a T100 race, it's pretty hard to be within the top of those rankings.
Yeah, unless you won world champs in the Ironman world, that's about it.
Exactly. So yeah, it'll be good to see. And then we have others like Holly Lawrence has just been getting stronger and stronger as she's come back from having her little one and coming back from pregnancy. That's been a lot of fun to watch that journey too. And we got some Uber bikers in here, like the Jess Learmonths, Lucy Byrams, Andy Lee. I think it's going to be fast off the front in the swim because we know that's their way to get the win. and then basically who can hang on the swim and push it on the bike, and see if it'll either be a bike race where they bike away and just don't see any of the top runners, or it'll come down to a run battle.
The other thing I did want to talk about too, because we know the big name that's not there is Taylor Knibb.
Yeah.
And we had talked about the fact when she first announced she wasn't going to be going, is that due to the heat impact, because they didn't have that in Marbella, so Taylor and Lucy were able to go. And after watching some of the documentaries and Lucy's documentary, you can see Lucy was not as impacted as Taylor Knibb was in terms of the heat stroke world levels of degree and seriousness. And Taylor certainly went to a darker place than Lucy did. And Taylor's core body temperature was like, I just watched the Talbot's feed documentary on Taylor, and it just dropped yesterday, and that was about her race day. Her core body temperature was within like a 1/10 of a degree of where it was supposed to be max coming out of the water.
Wow.
So for the first 60 to 90 minutes of the bike, Taylor Knibb was trying to bring her core temperature down. And then she's like, oh, and then I could kind of race. And then she caught her at Hobby, and we all know what happened from there. But yeah, she was managing her core body temperature coming out of the water. So with that said, we did discuss this a little bit. Is this going to be a factor for Lucy Charles as well? This is not a mild temperature race. This is going to be hot and humid and hazy and not the greatest conditions that they've raced in all year. So does that become an impact? And we know Taylor or Kwa has handled that well and won a race in
so well with that, yeah.
crazy temperatures. So how much of an impact does that have? And Julie Duran just did well in Dubai. Yeah. And we all know those hotter temperatures impact how hard they go on the swim. And there's so many factors that play in when you get these hot and humid races.
Well, I love Taylor Knibb so much. I'm bummed she's not like doing this race, but just you can see she's not driven by money, because she had to give up a good chunk of change to not come to this race. And she did the same with Singapore, right? Like we're probably talking tens of thousands to not fly over to Qatar. But she's so driven by that intrinsic motivation, like the performance, the goals she has, that she's like, okay, fine, like I'll give the money back. Don't pay me the money, whatever.
I want to win Kona.
Goals. Yeah, exactly. Than this. And I have so much respect for that. Like, obviously you have to make a living as a professional athlete, but she's like, no, my goals, my health, all of that is more important than this money. So bummed that she's not there, but kind of excited that she made that decision for the long-term potential and the things that we'll see from her in the future.
And she actually alludes to it in her episode with the feed and Talbot, is the fact that, like, if now that hindsight, she can look back at it, is like, would you take being able to finish that final 3K and having it impact the rest of your career, or would you rather a future in the sport? And she said, I'd take the future career in the sport any day. Okay. Now she's saying, okay, well, I don't want to go to Qatar and jeopardize the future of my career and getting to Kona. And she said her Kona dreams, and if you've listened to her talk or any of her history, it goes back to her parents. And when she was really young, and they took her there when she was 6 years old, and she saw the helicopters following the lead. And she's like, I want the helicopters following me all the way back into town. So yeah. That's like literally the whole beginning of the documentary is the helicopters. So that's the significance of Kona to her. And we all know she's won plenty of 70.3 worlds. She won T100 last year. There's only one thing left for her to do, plus the Olympics on the bike.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Okay, well, let's call it. We'll start with you, Josh. Who do you see on the podium in this race?
Man, I think it's going to be, I think Lucy Charles gets away. Jess Learmonth helps pull her, and the two of them are riding on the bike really well together, and they get away enough from Kate Wadd's long season. I know Lucy's had a long season too, but I just think she's got a chip on her shoulder to win another world title against the young guns coming for her. So I'll go with Lucy Charles, and then it will be Julie Duran and Kate Wad in third.
Okay, I like it. I think Julie Duran's got this one. I think she's going to hang on for dear life on that bike and then get out on the run and run away with it. And then I think we got Lucy Charles in second. And I'm going to go Georgia Taylor Brown for third, because her biggest issue is the nutrition side of things. And if she's going that fast in Bahrain, then even if it is a short course, then she must have figured out the nutrition enough to get the job done in the heat. So I'd love to see her pop up and have a good day there.
Telling you, that Strava file was almost 56 miles, so it was pretty close. So she's dialed in.
That's excellent. Oh my goodness. Okay, we've got the men's side of things. This is where a little, I don't want to say less exciting because it's always cool to see really high performances, but we have a pretty good idea of who's going to take the series with one main contender kind of being his rival. But for the starting list, we've got Hayden Wilde, Jelle Geens, Mika Newt, Rico Bogan, Morgan Pearson, Sam Dickinson, Matthias Margier, Martin Van Riel, Yori Kulin, Greg Barnaby, Minna Koolhaus, Jason West, William Hirsch, Vincent Louis, Jonas Schomburg, Peter Heimrich, Nicholas Main, Guillaume Montiel Moreno, Henry Racco, Mike Phillips, Caleb Noble. Man,
Yeah.
I'm getting better at these names at least. That's one thing. Except for the one.
Until next year, where there's a whole new cream with a crop.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so basically, Hayden Wilde is miles ahead of everyone with, unfortunately, not a perfect score, but he's got max points for the races because he's just been winning everything, everywhere on the T100 series. And it just goes to show, like, he is one of the few who put his full 100% focus on T100. Everyone else had a couple divided goals in there. And on the day, basically his main contender where there's some potential is Jelle Geens. If he takes the win, he has a shot at the series, but Hayden has to come
Fourth.
behind by a few slots. Did you say you did some looking into kind of what that would have to look like?
Yes. So Hayden would have to finish, if Jelle wins, and only if Jelle wins, Hayden would have to finish fourth or worse. So if he finishes fourth and Jelle wins, they would be tied in points, but because Jelle won the race, the grand final, that supersedes, and it's the results of that race that end up determining who the final winner of the season series is. So that would, Hayden would have to finish off the podium. And we know that has not been very likely unless he does an extra lap, which I do not see happening, as we discussed earlier.
I think he'll be very clear on the laps this time.
The one thing that I do feel Martin Van Riel is going to play a factor into this race as well.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's being discussed enough because of the season he's had. But who knows what would have happened in Dubai if they got off the bike in the right laps. And Martin was right there, and he can run with anyone. And his run form's coming together, coming out of Marbella or out of Nice, where he held on in Nice pretty well for somebody who was 4 weeks into their run block. So I think Martin Van Riel is actually going to win this race.
Okay, I like it.
That's my outside shot.
You know, who else could throw a spanner? As we saw, like Morgan Pearson had a great race the other weekend. And if he could manage to hold on the bike and have one of his runs, like he could be that other person that potentially slots in to maybe get that third place, which bumps him down to fourth in there. So it's really, man, these runners in this field just need to do whatever they can to possibly hold on for dear life during that bike ride to make this final interesting, because I would love to see a big run group coming off and just see them battle it out head to head, because that makes it so much more exciting.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And not to, like, if we've got 4 or 5 guys, like, and Hayden can't get away on the run, there's plenty of guys that can run with him if they're there with him.
If they're there, yeah.
Right. And then we all know Hayden's not always the brightest racer when it comes to
tactics.
and isn't always finishing the race the way he needs to, and has blown up a couple of times in big races. So as good as the season he's had, and as crazy it is to even be talking about him because his career almost ended, we all forget a few months ago, and for him to be in this scenario is amazing. But we haven't seen him win the big race when put under pressure. He's typically cracked, or another person has overcome that. So it happened at 70.3 Worlds last year. It happened in Paris last year. It's happened in Super Tri races. It's happened. So I still believe he can get it, but I don't feel like this is the year he wins the final race and the season series. He still might win the season series. Most likely will.
Yeah, and Jelle Geens was that one who he came second to in that 70.3 Worlds, where he was absolutely the favorite going on. And we've just seen how aggressive, like that Jelle won 70.3 Worlds with all the dramas, crashing, having to stop to fix his derailleur, like all of that. And he's still right up there and elbowing Christian Blumenfeld out of the way to take that run finish. I'm excited to see how he goes. Now, the question, again, same thing with Lucy Charles, like that come down from achieving that result, that has been your focus, especially Yella, like 70.3 Worlds was his focus.
And he's traveled a lot too, whereas like Lucy, like 3-hour time zones away, like she didn't have much to go, whereas Yella went all the way back to Australia and now is coming back.
And with the family and everything, like he travels with his family all over too, which does add an additional stress for sure. Be curious to see how he turns around in here and if he can really give Hayden that run for his money. But like having a second 70.3 world champs win and then winning the T100 would be pretty cool. And that's got to be, like you said with Lucy, some motivation to get another world title just a month later. It'd be pretty insane. Trying to think who else would be in that run group that potentially
Mika Newt's gonna be a factor again too, right?
Absolutely. He's so consistent. Like, and when we're talking those podium places, he's always on that podium. So it's absolutely a factor.
I think the run group in an ideal world means Hayden had a bad swim. I mean, it means there's a group of them working well together to make it hard for Hayden to catch up. And Hayden's using a lot because usually Hayden's caught up by like 10K, 15K into the bike. And like within the first couple laps, he's gone. If they can get away on the swim enough, like you said, like if they can go with Morgan and go with Vince, like there's a chance. Similar to the ladies' race, they've got to get away from Hayden and got to get away from Julie Duran to really put this away.
Man, both swims on either side are just going to have to be full gas, which is not
like
easy.
Short course racing.
Yeah, like all in, which is not easy in those water temperatures too, because I can imagine the water is going to be temperate at all. So swimming hard in a bathtub is never a fun start to a race. That's going to be a hot day. So hopefully they don't shy away from kind of pushing that swim because of the temperatures. Like you said, with Taylor Knibb, like her body temp was so high just getting out of the water. Never mind the rest of the race. Hopefully we see.
Maybe the half the distance. Well, the swim is a little more than half the Ironman distance, but still you do have the Aussie exit, which will jack the heart rate and the body temperature up too. So it'll be a good one.
Yeah, it was kind of like, okay, Qatar is coming. But now that it's coming up and like just talking through it a bit more, I'm getting more excited the more we talk about it because it really is like the best in the world are racing on this. And this time of year, this time of the season after such a long one, it just throws so many more variables into the mix with who's been successful, who hasn't, who's on trying to get redemption from the races that haven't gone well, who's trying to back it up after having world champion wins. Like that throws a whole lot more dynamics. And like we mentioned with the women's side too, trying to get into that top 10 of this series that you get invited back is absolutely massive.
Yeah, there's a huge, there's like within a couple points of each other on the back end. And Martin Van Riel's one of them, right? So what a year, what a crazy, and that's why I truly do believe that this is going to be his, like, okay, screw this year. I'm on to 2026, but I'm going to let everyone know I'm still here. And it's not just Yella and Hayden. And so my podium is Martin Van Riel, Yella Geens, then Hayden Wilde. Hayden still wins the season series, right? But you've got Martin saying, I'm still the best Belgian and I still run this and he holds off Yella. And then Hayden has dropped back or had never able to stay with them.
Okay, mine's a little different with, I think Yella's just he's so fit right now. I'm going to go with Yella for the win. Hayden's too good not to be on the podium, so I'm going to go him in second. And then, I don't want to say Martin, but I want something different. Let's go. Schomburg is gonna like
amazing.
He's just gonna go hard and hang on.
You and Greg Harper. It was between Morgan Pearson and Jonas, I could tell.
Oh man, I think the firepower on this bike is just gonna be insane. So you're gonna have Hayden wanting to go to the front and pushing it and making it hard on all the runners. I think we need some bike power in there. It seems crazy not to put Mika Newt on a podium just because he's always just on the podium every time, right?
Even when he runs a lap short, he still gets.
So it's just, man, I hope they do something funny, kind of poking fun at themselves for the drama that went on with the laps. But
maybe they have Tommy Fury as the lap guy. Like that would be.
I like the idea of Sam Renouf out there actually, like holding, like, like the ring girls at boxing matches kind of thing, like have him holding up a 6, 7, whatever.
6, 7, all over the place.
I know. I've got an 11-year-old son. I've been hearing that so much.
It's unbelievable. It doesn't go away. Wait till you run a standalone marathon again.
Oh, man. But yeah, either way, this is going to be an exciting race to watch. Definitely go check out the broadcast times in there. I believe it's like
Yeah,
the middle of the night, but
no, it's going to be Friday during the day here.
was it during the day?
Yeah. So like literally, yeah, it'll be Friday. I'm pretty sure Friday afternoon here is going to be our
That's
time.
amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
definitely check that out. Go find out where to watch and stuff because it is going to be some fun racing going down. And after this, just enjoy the racing this weekend because we're going to have a bit of a drought of races to watch and actually see what happens outside of the Ironman tracker for a while. So enjoy this one. And we will definitely come back next week to break it all down, the results and all the action that went on, and hopefully less drama than Dubai. I mean, I say hopefully, but that made it kind of fun to watch too. So we will see what happens. Hopefully, the fittest person wins, and external factors don't come into play. I think that's what I'm hoping for.
Fittest person and able to deal with the heat and take in their nutrition to get through it.
Absolutely. Well, go give us a follow on Instagram at Another Triathlon Podcast. And like we mentioned, we have all these up on YouTube now, so you can go watch these as well to get a little bit more insight. And maybe you've only heard our voices and have no idea what we look like. So go let us know if we look like what you think. Because I found a couple podcasts I've been listening to. I've started like looking up people. And I'm like, you don't sound anything like what I thought you are.
And we both just did an episode with Seth at Stupid Questions podcast too, so you can learn a little bit more about each of us in the last few episodes that he's done, and in between Josh Amberger, I mean, no big deal. Yeah, his back-to-back Josh episodes.
Oh, the Joshes, yeah. Yeah, definitely go check it out. That was a fun one where we talk a little bit outside of just triathlon racing, all the fun stuff there.
And speaking of Josh too, we'll make this our parting shot. The Patagon Man was just this weekend as well, and two British athletes won. A pro female won, and I think she was like 4th overall on the men's side. An age group British male athlete beat Alistair Brownlee and Josh Amberger. Like
That's got to be a feather in your cap. There are not many people who can say they've beaten Alistair Brownlee in a race. So that is definitely something that you need to be bragging about or have into your Instagram bio after that.
So there is a chance for all of us.
There we go.
You just got to go to Patagon.
I mean, yeah, bit of work there.
Yeah. It sounds like they all came off the bike somewhere close, and then this guy just outran them in the marathon that you want to call Patagon Man marathon.
Man, those extreme triathlons, I'm going to get into them at some point. They just look too brutal and awesome and
it's
fun.
It's right up your alley.
Absolutely love it. Very cool. Well, have a great day, Josh. And thanks as always for joining me.
Awesome. See you guys.